good morning. You are more than welcome to another episode. This is episode 78 of the Coffee at 11 show, brought to you by wigwam.ie SME peer support. Delighted to have you here, and in particular I'm delighted to have my special guest who's zooming in from the north of Ireland, and it's Noelle Mc Alinden. Noelle, please say hello and show us your coffee mug. Thank you.
Good morning, Colm. Cheers. This is my coffee cup. It made in Enniskillen by Anne McNulty, so a piece of authentic craft to start the day. So feel very privileged, Colm, for the opportunity. So thank you very, very much.
Sure, Noelle, it's indeed our pleasure, and I love the way the plugs come in early. Love that. Keep it going. Keep it going. Go you, go you. By all accounts, Noelle, in the short time that we've gotten to know each other, you're an absolute contributor and you're a connector par excellence. So really looking forward to today's chat. Before I bring Noelle in, let me just tell you a little bit about her. I think the thing that perhaps caught my attention most was the phrase she uses, arts activist. Really excited about what that's all about. She tells me that she's a practicing artist exhibiting locally, regionally and internationally, with work in public and private collections across Europe, UK, US and Canada. She says, I'm also a creative advisor, curator, arts educationalist, a former head of art and design in a post-primary school and senior lecturer for arts at Fermanagh College of Further Education, teaching across a range of sectors including primary, post-primary, university and the prison sector. An international artist in residence in University of Transylvania, Lexington, Kentucky, as part of the Governor's School of Art. And then I found out that Noelle, as an arts activist, really interested in that, intrigued by that, for almost 39 years. You were seven when you started. Has worked across statutory, voluntary, youth and community sectors, passionate about all art forms, promoting visual and performing arts, moving image, film and digital literacy. She was a chair of Creative Youth Partnerships and served as chair of the Forum for Local Government and the Arts, an active advocate for the arts, supporting the development of artists and creatives, promoting collaborative and strategic partnerships locally, regionally and internationally. And though she says herself, she is 2 years into refarmment, she is one busy lady. I'm really looking forward to this conversation indeed, because I think the thing that struck me was that you said as an arts activist, Noelle, you're passionate about the power of arts to transform communities, support cultural tourism, economic regeneration, health and well-being, and support peace and reconciliation. Beautiful sentiments altogether. So Noelle, you're very welcome, and of course the Buddha bus has started already. Thank you indeed, Sarah Ward. Lovely. So come here, before we go, because I always say to my guests that we can Google the work you do. We can Google the work you do. We can see it there. In fact, you have a beautiful picture behind you. That's one of yours. We'll talk about that in a little while, if that's okay. But would you take us all the way back to those early years? You know, eldest of 7, go all the way back, please, and bring us up. Paint a picture for us, please. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm originally from a lovely village on the shores of Lough Neagh called Mahary, and the eldest of 7, 2 sets of twins. So I was very excited about that and very proud. I loved school. Our school was just literally across the lane. So I absolutely loved school, and I come from a family where my father and mother were very, very passionate about being compassionate, and great, you know, a great sense of generosity as well. Hugely, you know, had a great sense of faith, and almost a pure blind faith. And I say that as a compliment in the sense that, you know, while we were brought up Catholics, very, very much into supporting our local neighbours, our community. And I suppose during that time, you know, I'm 58 now, so that would have been, you know, right during that time, there would have been, you know, particularly in the north of Ireland, there was a lot of problems and a lot of challenges. And our father, he had a very interesting life and left school at a very early age to support his own father and his own mother, you know, and he then eventually became a market gardener. So his business essentially was growing fruits and vegetables, but also bringing his neighbours' fruit and vegetables to the markets in Belfast during the Troubles, the supermarkets, crazy prices, Supermac, all of those, and actually risking his own life. And so we didn't see a difference between being Protestant or Catholic. That wasn't really the issue. It was very much a case of you did an honest day's work. It was a very busy household, a very warm household. Everybody was there for dinner, tea and supper, you know, and it used to be a question you'd ask Daddy, you know, Daddy, how many's for dinner? And he said, actually, there's a couple of more spuds in the pot. There could be 10 extra, you know, on top of all of us, all 9 of us. So Mummy was a brilliant homemaker, a very, very capable lady, very, very, again, very resilient. And Daddy was a man of great wit and great humour as well. And my early memories as the eldest was trying to get opportunities to stay up as long as I could so I could polish the shoes and tidy up and make myself, invincible almost. And so they needed me to do all the wee jobs and then carry in on a Saturday night a meal for them that I would have had to cook. And then, so I would sit quietly, then polish the shoes. I would have to hang in and watch Match of the Day because Daddy wanted to watch Match of the Day. But I hung in there to watch the Marx Brothers and Monty Python, and it was just brilliant. And then my job as the eldest was to accompany Daddy in the lorry to go and get the presents for Christmas for Santa Claus. So I was Noelle by nature as well, and it was a name too that I struggled with growing up because I felt very self-conscious, particularly at Christmas when people started to sing it. And then I grew into it. But then I realised that I was Daddy's passenger going to, choose these presents that I particularly liked, for my brothers and sisters, and then hide them, until Christmas Day came. So I felt I had a wee leadership role then, and I went to the local primary school, St Mary's Primary School in Mahari, which was a brilliant school, great friends, still friends to this day. We were the blackberry pickers by name, and my teacher that inspired me, many teachers did, was Mrs. Mackle, and she inspired me to paint, to draw, to just be totally self-expressed. And she always treated every student with great kindness. And I remember one day going over all excited when the youngest twins were born to say we had another set of twins. And she was talking about the whole story of Romulus and Remus and being brought up by wolves, by a wolf. And I shot up my hand to say, well, we have twins and we have an Uncle Wilf married to her Auntie Mary. And she didn't laugh at me, she just kind of smiled compassionately. And I went back home at dinner time and said, Mummy, nobody's believing me. So Mummy wrote down, Noelle has an Uncle Wilf married to Auntie Mary, and we have a second set of twins. So I had a very creative, mind at that stage. So we lived only like 2 lanes away from the shore, Loch Ness, and we would have swam there, picnicked there, been burnt alive in the sun and then rubbed down with chamomile lotion, but it was worth it. The blisters were worth it, for the freedom. And great memories. And then I went off to Donmore Convent as the eldest. I was, I remember Mummy standing by my name crying, loads of tears, and I was so excited. I just couldn't wait. And I got on the bus of absolute strangers and waited till we got till everybody got off the bus. And there were 2 other friends, Barbara and Doreen, who were in the same uniform as I was. So we presumed we were going to the same school, and then we had to get a connecting bus. And then I met another girl in the queue at registration and discovered that she lived beside my Auntie B in Dungannon. So I decided, instead of taking the bus home, I went to see her, and I didn't get home till 6:30 that night. And during the troubles and during the bomb scares in Dungannon, you can imagine, no mobile phones. My Auntie B didn't have a phone. I just turned up at her door, wanted her to show my school uniform, and I'll never forget Mummy and Daddy when I came home. It was like the return of the prodigal daughter. And I would have stuck my thumb at times when I was, tired or nervous or content even. And I remember my father and brother, John V, coming to collect me and passing the bus and seeing me sitting at the side of the bus window at 6:30 bus, twiddling their plaits and sucking my thumb. And then I got off the bus and then I realised what I'd done. So that was it. I decided at that moment never ever to cause any trouble or worry to my parents ever again.
I love it. I love it. And I'm going to come in here. This is just beautiful. We've been treated to this beautiful imagery of lanes and the lake and the Orchard County where your dad operated, and market gardens and neighbours, and it didn't matter what belief system they bought into. It's just wonderful. The first Noelle, I love that. You were the eldest and the first Noelle. I love the way that you refer to your father as Daddy. I think that's very endearing. You polished the shoes on, was it a Saturday night?
Saturday night, yeah, for Mass and Sunday, yeah.
You had to endure Match of the Day. Well, if you knew if you endured Match of the day and had the shoes polished, well then you could likely get the Marx Brothers. Great stuff. Absolutely. And I loved you used the phrase, your mum and dad were passionate about being compassionate. That's a lovely phrase. Yeah. Passionate about being compassionate. Dinner, tea and supper. Love that. In today's world, if I'm not mistaken, dinner is lunch. Is that right?
Yeah.
lunch, dinner and whatever, but dinner, tea and supper. And your dad would say, we might have a few extra. And on top of the 9 of you, another 10 would roll in.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. And you know what? It's a lovely picture of, dare I say it, an innocent upbringing despite what was going on in the background in the part of the world that you lived. So listen, thank you for that. Were you killed, by the way, having visited Auntie B?
No, I think Mummy and Daddy were that glad to see me coming home and curious to know that I'd survived the day. And of course I felt like I'm 4'11" and a half. I probably was that near that height then and still am. But I remember them just feeling like a giant that had made the journey, you know, there and back, and they were so delighted, but they were shocked. Daddy was the placid one. Mummy would have been more the worrier, and Daddy was more placid, and both of them were pioneers, you know, so alcohol wasn't even in the picture. But they were pioneers in many, many other ways, and I feel I'm a recovering pioneer. But the reality is that there was just constant love and constant compassion, and hugs were everywhere. Daddy, very much, I mean, I'm so, in a way, miss them seriously, desperately now, they're both dead. But Daddy always, there was always a hug for both, you know, both of us, from both of them for all of us, and hugs galore. It really was a very, very important part of our upbringing to feel connected, supported, and comforted, you know, as well.
And it would appear, if I'm not mistaken, that you're carrying that through in every facet of your life today. Will you tell us about how you went from school into the world of art, please?
Yes, when I went to Donmore Convent, I obviously studied, you know, a number of subjects, and then I selected geography, history and art and design because of the teachers actually who inspired me as well. So we had a brilliant geography teacher, so I qualified in art and design and geography to teach both. We had a brilliant geography teacher called Joe Cullinan, who was just so inspiring. And then my art and design teacher is Mrs. Isabel McKenna. So she, along with my former primary school teacher, Mrs. Mackle, were hugely inspirational. They just were unbelievable. And during that time, I was the only girl in the all-girls school that did A-level art that year. So I had the complete art room to myself. So of course I was painting on walls and doors and all sorts of things, because I thought that's what you could do. And then I had to bring it all over to the Boys Academy in Dungannon, get it moderated, to get it. And when I got there, all of the work that the guys had done, the students, it was all quite small, quite graphic, you know, graphic design, because of the nature of the art and design teacher that. So I went home and I thought I'd completely, you know, made a disaster of it, and I did it all wrong. And what I didn't say there as well is that Mrs. McKenna at the time, all during the Troubles, she actually brought us, me and the lower sixth group, to Armagh technical colleges at the time to hear these brilliant artists like Valley and others speak about their art and their passion and their culture. And the very first exhibition that I saw, I was second year in Dunmore, I think it was about 12, and it was in the council offices in Dungannon, and was by a very famous Irish artist called Colm Middleton, and he had a very unique signature, you know, the name Colm, and then the dot on the I was actually a wee I. And I remember deciding I want to be an artist when I grew up, and I went home and I changed my signature. So those are really, really key moments in my life that I remember. Actually, the smell of the paint, the activity in the art room, the messages that our teachers gave us, the support as well, you know.
Indeed, I do know. It's just gorgeous, and thank you for that. I think you've caught us all up as to how you got into art. A couple of things that struck me when you were talking about even your early school years, that a teacher seems to have taken individual interest in you and all the other pupils in the classroom, and therefore tailored the education piece, if you like, to the individual. I think that's just beautiful. I think too many people, I wanted to be a teacher when I left school all those years ago, never happened, but you know, I think perhaps too many teachers teach one style, and there are 27 kids in the classroom, and the kids either get the style or they don't. And I think that that's a mistake. I love the fact that you said, and you named the ladies out. I think there were ladies, all ladies, hugely influential was the phrase you used. They took individual interest in the work you did. Colm Middleton had a little eye on the top of his eye. That was his dot. What have you adopted as your signature?
Well, I now just do a Noelle and two wee bubbles. You know, I decided that rather, first of all, I didn't like the name Mc Alinden. I thought it was a bit of a mouthful growing up, and now I'm so proud of that name. And I was married, and sadly the marriage broke down. But I actually got it. You know, I kind of became reincarnated, I suppose, in a way. A good friend, Anne McWilliams, said to me, you know, Noelle, we just know you as Noelle, you know, and I just thought, you know something, Noelle, daughter of Vincent, and the whole thing with Vincent van Gogh, and my father's name was Vincent, and just that whole creativity and nurturing. And I just thought, well, if Vincent is good enough for Vincent, Noelle is good enough for Noelle. So there was that element that I thought, and I was being playful around it, you know, as well. And the E's are almost like two little fish going in one direction, and the little umloids, if you like, are like little bubbles above the E, like a little fish. And depending on the mood or the angle, you know, it can mean different things, you know.
We were commenting before the show here, for those of us that were in just before 11, on the beautiful colour scheme that you've adopted in your attire to complement that beautiful picture. Tell us about the picture in the background, will you? And then I want to take you back into some family stuff, if you don't mind.
Yeah, the picture was painted 21 years ago. It was part of an exhibition called Out of the Blue. And the signature piece of the exhibition was a mermaid. Because I come from the Loch Shores, you know, Mahary, and then because I live in Enniskillen, in the beautiful island town of Enniskillen, I'm here now over 36 years, and so the landscape, both the emotional landscape we occupy, as well as the inscape and the environment, I feel have a really, really powerful impact on us. So I discovered at a very early age that in sadness and loss, the arts can provide great solace and great sanctuary. So this exhibition was Out of the Blue. It was 21 years ago. I started painting these pieces 21 years ago. My first solo exhibition would have been in the late 80s in Enniskillen, and it was called Waterways of the Mind, which when I look back now, the links with the water has always been there. But in this particular case, it was 1 year on from my marriage ending and losing my sister to suicide, Roisin, which was just a heartbreaking time, absolutely heartbreaking, you can imagine. So,
forgive me, forgive me for that. My apologies, I couldn't unmute. Noelle, thank you for sharing that, and you know, congratulations on the beautiful piece of work behind you, which is clearly just the tip of the iceberg in terms of your productivity over the many years. Loved the Waterways of the Mind, and as you say, it's still there. There's this theme running through your work today, Out of the Blue 21 years ago, and you had shared with me pre-show, and perhaps it's time to go there if you're okay with that, about the loss of your first sister Roisin, and then more recently another sister.
Yes, yes. We had, this is the irony of it all, we come from a very loving family, very connected, very self-expressed, and we lost Roisin 21 years ago in June, and my parents were at Mass at the time, so that was really tough, and I was in Enniskillen, so it was a very, very tough time, you know, so you pack up and go, you know, that's what you do. And I suppose, you know, this a year later, this out of beauty, out of sadness and crisis and chaos, sometimes great beauty can evolve. And what happened was Roisin was one of the twins, and her brother's wife, Anne, gave birth to Niall a few days later. So this is representing the beauty of birth as well. So the exhibition was was a really uplifting exhibition. The first time my parents were up in Enniskillen after losing Roisin, the first time they were out in public other than Mass. And the first time that they laughed and smiled, and we had about 300 friends and family, and it was like a party. So I kept saying to my parents, I hope I don't have to do make an exhibition of myself every time, you know, I want to get up to Enniskillen. So great joy and great connection with great people and great friends. We'll see Betty there and Diane and great friends here from Enniskillen on as well. So
it's lovely. Please allow me just pause there for a moment, and thank you for sharing that. That's a tough thing to share. You know, I was feeling the love. I hope you were feeling the love too. I was feeling the love for you in the cafe, and Sarah gave the bigger heart emoji there just to wish you well. The picture has even deeper meaning, clearly, than one would ordinarily glean from it. Beautiful piece. So thank you for sharing that, and thank you for being vulnerable. It's one of the features that has evolved. Certainly wasn't the plan. You know, there's sort of a universal thing going on here in terms of the Coffee at 11 show. We just turned up, and magic seems to have happened over the last number of months. But it's where people like you come in and are willing to be vulnerable, because we all slap on the Instagram faces, right? Right? And we go out there and say, my life is wonderful, pity yours isn't, but mine is great. It's all a load of bullshit, like, to be honest, right? So we got to, you know, we've got to invite people in to be open and honest and go as deep as they wish. So thank you for doing that, because by doing so, whether it's somebody here in the cafe today live or somebody that will watch this replay now or in 20 years from now, it'll make a difference. So Noelle Mc Alinden, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Thank you. The little face is based on Niall, who was born. He was 21 there the other day. So he became such a almost like another little guardian angel for my parents. And you know, of course, the link and bond between grandparents and their grandchildren. And I'm not a mother, but I'm motherly. And you know, myself and my sisters Geraldine and Marion have great relationships with our nieces and nephews. They're all very, very important to us. You know, so and it's interesting because I remember Mummy saying to me, Noelle, you can be a great aunt. You know, you don't have to be a mother, you can be a great aunt. And then another good friend, Aidan McGinney, said to me, Noelle, you've touched so many children's lives in terms of the teaching profession. So, you know, in many ways, they're your own children too.
And do you know what? I would agree with her entirely. I think you touch hundreds, thousands, perhaps millions of lives through your work and your storytelling and the work that you've been doing. I love the fact that you've developed as an arts activist. Do you mind if we go there and we'll come back to family in a while? What is an arts activist?
I'm making it up as I go along. I think it's really somebody who's championing and promoting the arts in whatever way they can. And I suppose really many of us have been involved. I do a lot of volunteer work, as does Betty. Betty's part of the Fermanagh Live Arts Festival Committee, and Tony, and there's a whole range of very, very passionate people that in Enniskillen. And Betty's also from County Armagh, so there have been a significant number of blow-ins to this island town, and who also runs a fabulous restaurant, Franco's, which has been very close to my parents' heart as well. And I think the whole idea of an arts activist is somebody who's really championed the arts in all sorts of ways, and not just for the sake of the arts, but also for the sake of well-being and for humanity. And when you look at the COVID pandemic, for example, look at how we've been entertained, look at the frontline services in terms of the health and well-being. You look at our teachers as well, but you also look at the artists who have selflessly been sharing work, entertaining us. A lot of them in a voluntary capacity. You know, a lot of them have lost their livelihood, have lost their opportunities and their platforms to exhibit, to perform, all of that. So I feel really, really strongly about the arts, and I also feel not only do they matter, they are like they're like a heartscape. They're part of our DNA. They are an artery, if you like, of sorts. And I just feel so strongly. So in as well as my paid employment over the years, I qualified as an art and design teacher. I came to teach in St Aidan's in Derrylin, which I'd never heard tell of before. I thought I was in the south, and my students thought I was from Belfast because of the north-south accents. But it was the best thing I ever did, and it was a brilliant part of the world, just off the Cavan border there, and still brilliant people, still brilliant committed staff, and people that are just inspirational. But I learned very, very quickly that, you know, because of my parents and this idea of a community spirit. I mean, Mahary is a small village with a huge community spirit. There's a beautiful website that they've put up over COVID, you know, called Mahary Matters, and people just constantly exchange and share information and celebrate the successes as well as the losses. And the same with Enniskillen and Fermanagh, you know, as well. So I just have been so amazed that we've all connected both virtually like this, but also right throughout the COVID, that the arts community are a very generous, compassionate, but fragile community, a very fragile ecosystem, and they need our support. So throughout my life, I have been brought up to do volunteer work and community service of sorts, and it's just in the DNA, you know. And I think anybody will tell you, you'll know this by, you know, by those that are here today, that when you give back, you get so much more. I mean, I have been sustained by friends and, you know, and our family as well, through the connections that I've made over the years, all through a volunteer capacity. And the reality is that my journey and my career has actually been the direct result of that openness to be involved in things in a volunteer capacity, like the Ashleen Centre, for example, in Enniskillen, open now over 30 years. And they do incredible work, you know, supporting emotional well-being in all sorts of aspects. And so there are lots of champions out there in the community, lots of giants that we don't even know exist, who are working away, promoting as much as they can to connect and support people. And if people aren't healthy and well, they can't learn, they can't work, they can't rest, they can't play, they can't connect. So we need to invest in our physical, mental and emotional well-being, and I feel the arts have a huge, huge part to play.
And the Bula bus started one more time there. Rapturous silent applause around the cafe here for you, Noelle. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that, because you used your use of language, by the way, I love. You used a lovely phrase. You said it's all part of the heartscape. There's a word I haven't come across before, but it's a beautiful word, the heartscape. You're absolutely right. Those that can perform art or produce art or things of beauty should, and they should do so because they can. And then, you know, my dad always says, stop selling, start serving. And, you know, you've been doing that, and your community has been doing that right through COVID. You've been serving, you know, putting stuff up in your own way, in your own inimitable style, and serving the community at large. And the rewards will be there in time, whatever those rewards are. You know, I mean, the reward may be simply that you've impacted somebody that you may never meet, right? You may never even hear of, but they'll, you know, head off in a particular direction because they interacted with Noelle Mc Alinden somewhere along the journey. So well done, you. Well done. You also, by the way, you shared with us just before the show that you've got two buddies in the house there with you, Freda and Fred.
Yes.
Let's meet Freda first. Sarah Ward, be still.
Freda has kept me safe and sane during a lockdown, and I found lockdown scary at times and quite lonely as well. Not because I feel alone, because I know of lots of friends and family that I'm connected with virtually, but I also know the importance of being able to express sadness and fear and the fear of being lost, I suppose. And this is Fred. Fred was created by an art student in Fermanagh College, and it's called Freedom, and we've used it as our mascot for the Fermanagh Live Arts Festival, and I see him as my guardian angel. So what I've been doing is putting little short videos to friends, Tony Johnson and Edie McGinley, and close friends, Mary Ellen, just about celebrating their birthdays, you know. And sure, I'm making it up as I go along. But I just thought yesterday, if I've done most of my existence in COVID at the kitchen table, and I just thought of all the empty chairs that are around the table and thinking of who you're talking to on a daily basis, you know. And I just thought we underestimate what we can do at our kitchen table, the conversations, the food we share, you know, the coffee, you know, the connection, and how privileged we are now. It's a real privilege to be able to have a cup of coffee or go to a restaurant or go and share a meal. You know, those are that breaking bread and sharing coffee is really, really important, you know. So I suppose for me, I felt quite childlike again, you know, during the pandemic. And I am a cancer survivor. I'm very grateful that I'm 3 years ago or 4 years ago now, I had cancer, and I'm very, very lucky and very fortunate. So I also do a lot of voluntary work as well for Cancer Connect, a local charity, because I just think, irrespective of what age or stage in life you are, and even if you've have had a terminal diagnosis, the quality of life that you can have in those, you know, remaining weeks or days, and we learned that with our late mother, you know, the quality of life we were able to exchange as a family was just very, very precious, you know, because we were focused and we knew the diagnosis. And so many of us are going around with diagnosis that we don't even know we have, you know. And I think, don't wait until there's a crisis, you know, intercept now. Life is urgent. It's very, very precious. Don't take anyone for granted. You know, we've lost friends through COVID. We lost a colleague at the beginning of the pandemic, Yvonne Mathers, you know, and I've lost, you know, friends, and many by suicide, I have to say. And I feel so, so strongly, and this is what I really feel very passionately about, is that if we encourage people to be self-expressed through the arts, through whatever your self-expression route might be, you're less likely to be depressed, you're less likely to be self-destructive, you're less likely to be vicious and vindictive or toxic. And if you have sadness, express it. If you have joy, express it and share it, celebrate it. But if you have tough times, then, you know, there are people there that can help. And at the moment, I'm dedicated to an all-island focus with Angeline, a driver from Ballybofey, and a number of friends across the island of Ireland, and agencies to try and reduce the numbers of suicide, celebrate life in the widest context possible, and that creativity is contagious, and so is compassion. And I suppose my challenge is to encourage every friend, anybody that I know with a heart or a pulse or a heartbeat, to take on the challenge of doing the assist course or the safe talk course, because together we can save lives. And it could be a family member, it could be your lover, your husband, your wife, your partner, your child, your best friend. We just don't know.
Noelle Mc Alinden. Noelle Mc Alinden. That was just gorgeous. That was just gorgeous, and thank you for that. And by the way, in your words there in that last segment, you will have scratched an itch in several people, I'm quite sure, here in the cafe, that will take steps towards what you've suggested. So so congratulations, the word is spreading and the good work is spreading. You touched on the fact that because of your mother's diagnosis, you had time to, you had a focus, you had a timeline, you could say your goodbyes, etc. And we're sorry for your loss in terms of your mother, and that she appears to have succumbed to a cancer. You mentioned earlier you lost your dad. You lost your sister through suicide 21 years ago, and you lost another sister to suicide recently. Would you mind, please?
Yeah. Yes. So 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer, and cervical cancer. So I was very, very lucky, and I see that as a gift actually, because it made me put the pause button on. At that time, our father had been diagnosed with dementia, but he was still very much a loving, compassionate father, and we were able to take him up down the Skill and bring him to Franco's, bring him to the Beckett Festival, bring him to the Wild Festival. You know, just a gorgeous man who just loved, you know, the arts. And funny, you know, when I look back, my father and mother were great champions, and I didn't even realise it at the time. They used to come to exhibitions, and Daddy used to say, well, would your mermaid not put on a vest, Noelle? And I used to say, well, Daddy, you know something, they're modest mermaids, they're for married, you know. So he used to laugh at that, because he also was a fisherman with his father for a while too. But yes, so late February 2016, I was diagnosed with cervical cancer, and we as a family had lost our mother in 2010, and we were struggling with, you know, coping with our father's dementia, and, you know, managing time to stay with him and all of that, and still stimulate him. But we had to come up with a, you know, a decision of what was in his best interests medically. So at that time, he developed COPD. So he was in Craigavon Hospital at the time, and I had concerns about my own health, and I got checked out. So I was diagnosed. The day I was diagnosed, I was going in to see my father in Craigavon Hospital. Then we had to make a quick decision, and our father was transferred then to the brilliant Ashbrook Care Home in Stewartstown, they were just beautiful people, fabulous people, and care homes don't get enough credit. It was like a home for us, because we could be the sons and daughters rather than the medics and the carers. So I had my surgery, and then 8 weeks later, my best friend Dolores was driving me up to Alpengavin. We got the phone call that Anita died. And our sister Anita had been admitted to Craigavon Hospital, and she had taken her own life in the hospital the next day. So that was really tough. And it highlighted to me the importance of, within the context of the health service, the resources aren't always there. Our sister was allegedly to be supervised, allegedly to be, you know, 24/7 observation. My brother-in-law and my sisters and her, you know, her family were with her, you know, until late that evening before, and it was just tragic. It was just tragic that we thought she was safe. So that has given us the fire in our bellies as family to continue, and that every life is precious. And we had then 2 years later a really detailed, obviously post-mortem, you know, not post-mortem, but inquest. And I can understand why those have to be delayed, because they're really, really heart-wrenching things to go through. And for my family, it was like being re-traumatized. And I had been on a retreat with Tony. Oh, I'm trying to think of the name. Tony Humphreys. And it was a brilliant way of grounding me for what was yet to come. So I was able to support my family as the eldest in the family, and the mother hen, that would be my nickname. And our sister Geraldine, who's a solicitor and an actress and filmmaker, she guided us through, you know, professionally, through the jargon, through all of the horrendous landscape that really rocks you, you know. And she stood her ground. She was amazing and challenging the the Health Trust, and we collectively as a family have, we hope, put in another request to help change the system. And one of the things the coroner said, that if Anita can, as a professional, as a loving wife, clearly loved by her family, in the health system and in the hospital, can die like this, what hope do the rest of us have?
Noelle. I was watching the faces in the cafe, and I felt for you. I felt for you as you got emotional, but I felt the right thing to do was to let you work through it. So I hope that was the right call. But thank you for sharing, and thank you for going there. And, you know, our condolences to you and your family. The mother hen, love that description. Condolences to you and your family. And may, you know, Roisin and Anita and your mum and dad, may they rest in peace. And, you know, tragic and all as it is, you and your family are continuing to take the lessons or to perhaps find the lessons within to make sure that it happens less and less and less into the future. So you've got our full support and our admiration and our condolences all in one.
Thank you. I suppose I come from a family that doesn't give up easily, which is the irony of it all. And I know that my first experience of suicide would have been really as a young teacher, 28, when a child in effect confided in me, and that nearly put me over the edge, because it came at a time when other friends and colleagues who also were confiding in me, and I didn't have the resources, I didn't have the skills, I just was a teacher. And but thankfully all of those people are alive and well, which is ironic then when you think of your own family context. But I suppose what I learned as well, that not to give up hope, and that in a way, again, the arts have continued to be kind of a lifeline and a way through, because I did a lot of volunteer work as, you know, designing stage and set, you know, costumes and set design for the Lebanon players here in Enniskillen, and just different groups and different, you know, festival scene as well. And that gave you a focus and an outlet and a social network that you knew that was like coming back to your family. You know, like I live in Enniskillen, I have no family in Fermanagh, but I see myself as very much from this part of the world as well. And, you know, I don't see myself limited by borders or by languages or by cultures or by religion. I think it's very important. And I was very, very privileged as well to be part of the Derry team for the first UK City of Culture. And to see Mary Blake there, a Fermanagh woman who's based in Derry. And I always had these little yes badges. And Derry's anthem was Just Say Yes. And anyone who knows Derry, Londonderry, legendary, Stroke City, knows that people in Derry, they say yes before they say hello. That is their hello. And Dr. Edie McGinley, who's a remarkable woman and has been another teacher in my life in a way, was the former Permanent Secretary for Culture, Arts and Leisure. Then she was the CEO of ILEX Urban Regeneration Company, and she, with Derry City Council and Culture Company, led the idea and the design and the championing of as Derry being the first ever UK City of Culture. So I had the privilege of being seconded, working with Edie, who incidentally opened most of my exhibitions as well, to be part of that team. And as I said, the anthem was Just Say Yes. And of course then I developed a very brass neck, because I was asked would I, you know, help, you know, get people behind the bid. So I'm great at asking for other people. I would be quite shy and I would be a bit of an introvert, but I'm very good at actually, you know, asking other people to do things. And so we were relentless in getting as many champions behind the bid. And I know that Snow Patrol, Derry Light Body, is very, very dedicated to the whole area of, you know, raising awareness of depression. But he then gave permission for us to use the song Just Say Yes as the anthem. And I sent you the wee video that was made voices, and it was, I am Derry, I am Londonderry, I am legendary, and we have a new story to tell, and Just Say Yes. And I was listening to this morning, so.
Just say yes, just say yes, just say yes. That's just beautiful. Derry, Londonderry, legendary. I haven't heard that phrase. That's just beautiful.
Yeah.
Derry, Londonderry, legendary. Kathy Mera has joined us from New Hampshire, is in every day in the cafe. Kathy, new grandmother in the last 48 hours. Congratulations, Kathy. just wonderful stuff. First time. And but Kathy's getting this deep inculcation into Irish culture since she's joined the cafe a number of months ago. So we'll explain Derry, Londonderry, Legendary later to you. Listen, just a complete joy. A complete joy, Noelle, having you in the cafe today. And by the way, for what it's worth, you know, we've got this lovely cohort of regulars that pop in every single day. I won't even start mentioning names because I'll miss somebody, so I won't. We've got this lovely cohort. We know once we throw up the shutters every day, a certain group will arrive in, and it's wonderful. The difference each day is the extra people that come along because of our guest. And delighted to let you know, Noelle, that there's a huge amount of love out there for you, because the cafe has filled up beautifully this morning with people that we haven't met before. You're all very welcome. Lovely to have you here, but they've come for you and for your story, and we are so glad that you came in to tell your story today. So thank you, Noelle. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Listen, we're going to go to Q&A from the floor, if that's okay with you, or comment from the floor. I'm quite sure there'll be some rich comment coming through. Before we do, Noelle, do you mind me asking, what is Noelle Mc Alinden taking with her post-COVID? What have you learned in COVID that you're not letting go of, please?
I suppose self-compassion and compassion for others, and that we can paint our own canvas and the colours we choose are up to us. But when you muddy the water, you need clear water to clear space. And actually, this has been like a retreat for me in a way, and I'm not sure if I want to come out of it completely. There's an element of self-isolation which artists thrive in. But I think that the power of connection, and for me as a family, it's very important, the connection, like for us, we've been sharing, Zoom calls and even prayed together by Zoom, particularly in our sisters' anniversaries. We laugh a lot, and we have great, great connection, and I think family in the widest sense.
Well, your family has increased today exponentially, so thank you for joining us, and we're delighted and honoured to call ourselves part of your family, the wider family going forward, Noelle, so thank you for that. Just beautiful, just beautiful. I'm going to go to Q&A from the floor, or comment from the floor. Who'd like to come in and make comment? I'm going to bring Evelyn in if I may, and Sarah, Shelley will bring you in if that's okay. Evelyn, please.
Good morning, Colm, and apologies I was a bit late. Noelle Mc Alinden, and how are you today?
Evelyn, thank you for coming in. You were the first person I saw on Colm's show, and I was so impressed, really, really impressed.
Oh, well,
So
I'm
thank
delighted
you.
that you're here today. And I was a wee bit late getting in because I had other stuff on there, but you look like an angel sitting there today. I'm glad that you got to share your story, because I just want to say that from myself and Noelle, it's only been a year and a half, maybe 2 years, Noelle.
Yeah,
But
I
I genuinely, and I mean this woman will go beyond a call of duty to help you, and our paths have crossed in many different ways, between education, between what she speaks, how she holds, what she does for people. This talk doesn't even cover half of what she does do. But I just want to bring in a funny thing here now. Now, Noelle's quite witty, but Noelle, this picture behind you, this painting, now that you have said what it is about, but I'm going to tell you something funny that I have heard about this. And it's from a mutual friend that we have.
Oh, yes, yes.
So as you said, the dinner table is the heart of the home, and it is a wonderful place where everybody gets to share and that. So I heard from our mutual friend that Noelle had a wonderful gathering, and she sat underneath this wonderful picture, Evelyn, and to the right of me was Father Brian Darcy, and he says, and we were both staring at this bare-breasted woman up above Noelle. So when you said your daddy said, can that woman not put a vest on her? It reminded me of the story that I heard. So I just thought I'd share that. And
Yeah.
Are we? But
That was, Mr. Declan Coyle, I do believe.
That was our...
who is a great man. The Green Platform, he's an inspired man and a great friend, and he's been one of our speakers along with Evelyn at our event, the Hope, Healing and Growth event, which will be on the 9th of January this year for the Ashland Centre. It'd be great. Thank you, Evelyn, so much for that.
I'm delighted to see you here, Noelle. Hats off to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Colm.
A pleasure, Evelyn. Thanks for coming in. That was just gorgeous. And Noelle, I'm delighted that you found the show, and therefore the show found you through Evelyn. So that's the universe at work beautifully. Beautifully. Helen, do you want to say anything? Sinead, do you want to say anything?
I thought it was very wonderful, very emotional, very soul-touching. Thank you, Noelle.
Thank you, Helen. Helen's a great friend, an excellent artist, and works with one of my favourite artists, and totally inspiring in the work that she does and how she represents the human condition. And we have some of our beautiful pieces in Enniskillen coming out of lockdown. And Helen, I know we've got through lockdown together. So thank you for your friendship.
Yeah, it's great. We saw some of Helen's work earlier.
Rick isn't my work now. He's a friend of Noelle's. He seems to pop into
I'm afraid of cats and dogs. And
he seems to always pop in front of the camera every time we're talking. He's like a magnet.
I love it. Some of Helen's stuff was shown. Helen, you might just show us one more piece, and again, speak to camera so the video will take you up if you wouldn't mind.
Fight or flight, Helen. I drove down to Wexford and drove back on a high, straight back down to Enniskillen, haven't seen her work. Do you want to say a bit about that work, Helen?
It's basically this here, the bottom part is, you know, like the nest, symbolic of the nest or the home situation. And you've got a hand holding the ankle and another hand reaching up from the actual nest area there. And then you've got a little haversack or a school bag on her back where she's got her little teddy bear in there, her little emoji signature of happiness. Her little wings are coming out, and it's basically about trying to find your happiness and your peace and what you've got to do to try and keep your happiness. Look, I'm an emotional wreck. I bawled my way through Noelle's talk because she's quite amazing.
She is that.
She gets where my work is coming from. You know, it's all from your internal landscape and the typography of, you know, the speaking about your family and the joy and the openness and the encouragement. You know, it's something that not everybody has, and it's lovely and beautiful to hear. And it's so wonderful that you're here to share and nurture and show other people how to be, and that you're appreciated, you know.
Well said, Mary. Helen, well said indeed. Thank you for that. And one of the other guests who just left the cafe did say, Noelle, we got you. The audience got you today very quickly. So that's just gorgeous. Sinead, did you want to come in and say something?
I've known Noelle for quite a long time now, and I think I met you first in the AADE.
Yes.
And you and Mary O'Donoghue have always been like my soul mothers in art and sisters who I always look up to. And I think it was at the RUA exhibition that you actually introduced me to Helen. Helen probably doesn't remember me, but you got really excited about her work. And every time I meet Noelle, she always leaves me with the impression of increase. She increases me with hope and just warm feelings. And she's just such a kind, lovely person who is just today, who just spoke so beautifully. I cried a few times because I've lost friends and family to suicide as well. But, you know, as you say, it's important that people be open and we share sadness as well as happiness. And, you know, we have to be open so that other people can connect with us. And art is definitely such a strong healing force. And, you know, we really need to encourage that. And as you know, I'm a big ambassador for encouraging children and for them to express themselves, because I know a lot of children have found COVID really difficult and they're suffering a lot of anxiety. And if we can get them to even just forget about it for an hour, undertaking an art practice or whatever, that's so important. And that's my mission in life, to do that and help them.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Sinead for years, and Sinead, like Helen, is a former Sinead still is an art and design teacher and has been keeping art classes going as part of our business during the lockdown. And Helen as well is a former art and design teacher. And I think the empathy that art and design teachers in general, but particularly art and design teachers, because they have an insight into a child's mind that sometimes they represent visually, that they wouldn't necessarily represent, you know, in a more formal class. And I think we're sensory beings, and I think that emotional landscape that we occupy, you know, that classroom, I'm so proud of my past pupils. One past pupil is the head of art in the school students in Derryland that I taught in. Another pupil is over in Houston, Texas, painting angels on walls and celebrating work. And I have past people who appeared at my door the morning of Anita's anniversary with a beautiful drawing of both my sisters that she did in a gorgeous plant. And I just think, what an investment.
So look, I'm going to go to Princess Shelley, find out what's been going on in the cafe, if you don't mind. Princess Shelley, thank you, in your own time.
Thank you, Noelle. Very busy, bustling cafe with lots of chit-chat going on Zoom here. When on the busy days in the cafe, we go on to 2 pages, so we're constantly flitting back and forward. You've brought some real fans with you today, and the comments reflect that. First of all, we're going to bring Sarah in a moment. So Sarah, I'll let you share your own comments there as I'll hand back to you in just a moment, Sarah. The first one that popped in with a comment, Noelle, was Darish, got D in brackets, and it's when you held up your teacup and you gave a little plug there for it. She said it was a lovely, lovely cup. So D like that. And then Di said, you're a wonderful person, Noelle, and so strong and a very talented artist. So this is fairly early on in the story. This was very early on in your journey. We were hearing about your childhood and the wonderful imagery and the journey that you brought us on. So this is what we were hearing. Joanna says, Joanna too, nice that you're here, Joanna. Thank you for joining us. Noelle says, you're so genuine and open and indeed vulnerable, which gives all of us so much connection to our common humanity. Thank you for that. And I think that's what I've seen myself here in the cafe. I think we're on show 78, I think today, is that right? I think we're 78 today. And you know, it's the emotional, to hear your voice crackling and to see everybody coming closer to the screen in love for you. And that's what these comments are reflecting today, Noelle, you know. That one came in from Joanna as well. Sarah had mentioned that you've touched so many lives. We'll come to you in just a moment, Sarah. Eamon says, you're so right, Noelle. Contributing and serving others has such a positive and potentially life-saving and life-changing impact for ourselves as well as those being helped. And that's what you said about that you can do so much. Lisa said, Lisa Chalford journals in Galway. Lisa says, such beautifully imagery in your language, Noelle, not to mention your art. 100% grateful for all the artists sharing their talents during these challenging months. Totally agree that the arts have a massive part to play in everyone's overall health and well-being. And she's a big fan of Freda and love your Fred as well. So kudos to them for being by your side, and thank you very much for that comment coming in, Lisa. Eamon liked express it, don't depress it. I actually made that note myself here. I hadn't heard that juxtaposed between expression. I'm rooted in dance and the performing arts myself, and I'm definitely going to adopt that. I'm going to consider that your gift to me today. Kathy coming in to us for her morning coffee. It's approaching 7 a.m. I think for Kathy. Says that she loves that you're sharing your wonderful story. Life isn't easy and we need to know that for everybody else. And you've really brought that to the cafe today, Noelle, and thank you so much for that. Donna was questioning how you stay positive through it all. Would you care to comment on that, Noelle? How do you stay so positive?
I have to say that I do not regret anything that's ever happened to me, apart from the sadness and loss of my sisters. That has been hugely tough for my parents as well, obviously. But I think I had some beautiful collisions along the way. I've had lots of precious cargo, and I tend to use those for titles for exhibitions. I did have an exhibition called Precious Cargo on a barge, so I quite like the idea of the interplay. And it's like mining deep, and it's all kind of, it's almost like you're building up this gold chamber of contribution, and none of it is a waste of time. None of it is a waste of time. And I suppose the other thing as well is that I learned when I worked, I taught in Logan House Prison, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. We were brought up to stay out of prison, and I was there to teach art, and I told a couple of white lies there, but I loved every minute of it, and I learned a very valuable lesson. You don't know what giant to be sitting beside you. You don't know what giant is in yourself or other people, and never judge a book by its cover, because remember one of the prisoners asked me, you know, are you not scared coming into work with us? That this is an all-male prison. So the youngest was about 18 up to the age of 83. And I was totally genuine and maybe naive. And I said, well, you know, you don't look any different from any man I know, my brothers, my father, my uncle. And I could almost see them visibly shrink because they kind of, there was, for some, there was a certain status for them, you know, and so and I felt faith is really important, faith in something or someone, a support network, and I'm blessed with the best of friends and family from all over, and I see many of them here. And obviously the arts, it's an artery through, it's a way through, whether you write, I mean, I would have written poems, music is a salve, I could not survive without it. I found during COVID that the importance of the human, the authentic human voice, and then Colm, that's what you provide here, and I think it's really, really powerful. I think radio has never, radio in particular, and you know, the audio, the human voice, the compassion, the sadness, the joy, the elation, the fragility of it is captured through the human voice, and I think when we can express that and listen to someone express it, it actually touches us and moves us and inspires us. You know?
Thank you for that, Noelle. That's wonderful. That is just, and all the rapturous applause, everybody's agreeing with you there. I'm not going to get to everybody. And you know, sometimes it's a real shame when you don't get to the comments, you know, big time. We have all these new, lovely new people who join us in the cafe. Dee says, art brings us back and she sees an angel on your shoulder. Joanne says, you're amazing at everything that you're talking about. Mary Blake, you're an inspiration and a rock to so many. Your family is huge and I'm so pleased to be part of it. Aren't they lovely comments? It's an awful shame that we can't spend ages looking down through them. James joined us, and Kerry. James says it's emotional rollercoaster today, and thank you for your honest sharing. Thank you. And Shivers says you're a gorgeous, talented lady in every way, inside and out. Isn't that scrumptious? Well, I'm sorry that I'm skipping past you. I haven't been able to give you the time, the comments that indeed our cafe attendees deserve, or indeed you deserve to hear more. But it's just so beautiful and rich that it's that let that be there. Sarah, I'll pop to you very briefly, if that's okay, before handing back to Colm. I think Sarah just wanted a quick comment with you there, Noelle.
Noelle, you have definitely touched and moved me this morning. You are just such a beautiful person. You came from a beautiful family, and it shows the love you have and the strength you have. And I admire you so much. I mean, you're incredible. And I just wanted to reach into the screen at one stage and give you a big hug, you know, because you are incredible. And I think that you have such a wonderful gift to share to people and to help them, that it's incredible. And keep going. And also, I wanted to ask you a favor, the express it, don't depress it. I'm writing a book at the moment, and I'd love to put that in there and mention you as put your name underneath it, obviously, and give you credit for it, because I think that just got me. It just got me, and I would love, with your permission, to put it in the book.
I'm just making it up as I go along, Sarah, honestly, and please feel free, you know, and I suppose the key thing is that, you know, we have to be comfortable with expressing the sadness and joy. I mean, I'm a great follower of Brené Brown, and in my previous job, I would have been supporting, you know, training teachers and new principals and dealing with critical incidents. And I think we're all, you know, we're all going to be dealing with challenges and sadness and loss and gain. And I think to share vulnerability and to show that it's okay, and it's a sign of strength. In my book, it's a sign of strength. I'm thinking of Leonard Cohen, you know, and that's where the light gets in. I'm thinking of, you know, the whole idea of the Japanese bowl, you know, that our flaws they have a particular type of pottery that they crack the pots and then they fill them with gold, and the scars are very apparent and very real. And I just think it's important to celebrate that, because it's in our humanity and our humility and in our compassion that we grow. And I think,
Absolutely.
I think it's very healthy.
You've got huge compassion, I think, and you are very, very strong, and well done. I mean, it's been, you've had your obstacles and they've been huge, and well done for getting through them. I admire you. You're a wonderful woman.
Thank you, Sarah, for that. Thank you. So beautifully put on behalf of everyone in the cafe. And thank you, Noelle. And I see our editor has joined us, then Chief, the boss lady behind the scenes. And she popped in that you're a very brave lady, Noelle. She's loved listening in from her busy workplace today. I'm going to hand back over to Colm O'Brien. He is our wonderful host. He is going to give you a few dates for the diary as we bring the last few shows down to the end of series 1, and also let you know who's coming into the cafe tomorrow. It's back over to you, Colm. Thank you.
I'm smiling here. I'm smiling here because that was Princess Shelley warning me not to forget stuff. So I'll do my best to not forget stuff. But come here, that is one of my favorite parts of the show, is where I get to sit back and kick back and have a listen to the beauty that's been commented upon in the cafe. And as Shelley said, we've a very busy cafe today. We've got the back room open and everything today. So that's a great sign. It's like one of your dad's dinners back in the day, dare I say it. Loads of extras came, loads of spuds in the pot. Your use of language is beautiful, may I say, Noelle. I love the phrase you used, beautiful collisions along the way, precious cargo, music is a salve. There's a lovely phrase, music is a salve. Absolutely. And then when you brought us into the prison there with you, and we were picturing these men 18 to 83, and as you say, they were just like our brothers and dads and uncles, and they visibly appeared to shrink when you told them that. And as you say, you had no idea what giant is sitting opposite you or beside you or indeed within you. So look, it's incredibly beautiful and incredibly deep, and yet incredibly simple all at the same time. It's just wonderful. So come here, it's been a joy, an absolute joy.
Thank you very, very much. And continued success with these. I think these are so, so important. And actually, I'm so delighted to see so many friends here. And Di from Anna, Minister Council, brilliant artist and champion. I see Sinead there from Belfast. I see Helen, a brilliant artist there from Wexford. Mary, who is Mary Blake, is like a soul sister there in Derry. And of course Evelyn. And it's just, I can't see everybody on the screen. And Betty, of course. Franco's, you have to come to Franco's. Come down to Skillen, support the arts, celebrate. Please do the course, the assist or the self-taught course. And creativity is contagious.
Fantastic. Creativity is contagious. And Franco's that you mentioned there, is that Franco's the pizza place? Oh,
it's more than pizza. It's an experience. It's seafood and everything. Every chapter in my life, Betty has been there. Every table I've sat at, with the joys, the sadness, with my cancer diagnosis, the celebration after exhibitions, and we're planning a lunch now tomorrow as well. So Betty has been one of the guardian angels that I have had in my life as well. And I see Joanna there from the Royal Ulster Academy, that I'm privileged to be part of the council there. So I'm very blessed. I'm in the company of the angels all the time.
You're very blessed, and so are they. You're all in the company of each other's angelic form. So congratulations, and beautiful to have you here in the cafe. Right, I better do a bit of work here before Princess Shelley pulls the plug, if that's okay. What's happening in the cafe tomorrow? Episode 79 tomorrow. Can you believe that? Episode 79 tomorrow. A gentleman called James Sexton. He's based here in the Midwest, based out of Shannon. And he's a fabulous entertainer, not in himself per se, although he is that too. But he runs an entertainment company called Hiya, H-I-Y-A, Hiya Entertainment. But he is the man who created the format that has become Ireland's Fittest Family. For those of you that will know that, Ireland's Fittest Family. And it's a hugely successful program on television here, and it's recently been sold to an international film or TV organization. So it's going to go global, which is really exciting. So looking forward to having James here tomorrow. The dates for the diary that Princess Shelley will be slapping me in the head for if I don't mention are next week. Next week is our last week for Series 1. I'm putting it out there. It's just Series 1. We will come back with the Series 2 at some point in late September, probably Friday only, because we committed that the show would run every day, weekday, while COVID lasted. Naively thinking, Noelle, it'll last about 3 weeks. Right? And so I was thinking, right, we do 15 or 20 shows, it'll be grand, and here we are on 78. And it's not grand, it's beautiful. It's become something beautiful. So anyway, Series 1 finishes Friday week. Next week, let me just tell you what's happening. Next week on Monday, Roisin Meany, author. She's just published her 17th novel. Next Tuesday, my dad, My dad, Tommy O'Brien's coming in, and he's coming in for posterity reasons. He's 82 in August. We were going to bring him in on his birthday, but COVID is finishing. Apparently COVID is finishing beforehand, sooner than we thought. So he's coming in next Tuesday. Next Wednesday, we have Katrina O'Brien, the lovely Katrina O'Brien, who is our editor-in-chief, who tops and tails this and makes us beautiful. She's coming in next Wednesday. On Thursday, Dodgy, it's yours truly. They've asked me, will I come in and tell the story? So Katrina O'Brien's going to sit in my seat and we're going to swap roles. So that'll be fun. And then on Friday of next week, the last show of the day, truthfully, we did reach out to Uachtaráin na hÉireann. Right? We did genuinely reach out to Uachtaráin na hÉireann, Michael D. Higgins, and ask, could we get him on the show? Don't think it's going to happen. Don't think it's going to happen for Series 1. But hey, we live in hope for Series 2 and beyond. So next week on Friday, we've got a lovely lady. Her name is Dr. Sinead Kane, and she's coming in. And Dr. Sinead Kane is a blind lawyer and adventurer. She has run 7 marathons in 7 days on 7 continents, and she's blind. So what's your excuse, right? So she's coming in on Friday to finish the series, and then we're going to have a live event, a charity fundraiser for any of the charities that we've had on the show over the series. That's happening on Saturday, the 25th of July. It's happening here in the Midwest, Bird Hill, County Tipperary, exit 27 off the M7. And we're looking forward to meeting up with as many as can or want to come along on the day. And Alan Andrews, who was my first guest on the show, it's his cafe, and his cafe is going to sponsor the event in that whatever people want to pay for their coffee, that will go into the pot and we'll share it out amongst the charities that have been represented on the show. Listen, an absolutely beautiful show today. Real joy having all of you here, but in particular, it's been my privilege to meet you here in the cafe, and that is Noelle Mc Alinden. Namaste.
Thank you very much. Thanks a million.